Good morning and welcome back to Community Couch Time. Today is Wednesday, May 27th. I want to begin with saying thank you to my husband for the delicious cafecito that he makes for me almost every morning, pretty much, to tell you the truth. And on that note, I want to share a little bit about cafecito and what it means to me and in my family. As you know, almost every day when we do Community Couch Time, I have my cafecito. I think only once I had licuado, but aside from that, I usually always have my cafecito. And so in my family, like when we are all together, my brothers and sisters, my mom, you know, the kids, my husband, one of the things that we do is we always love to eat together. We eat breakfast together, we just like to have big family parties. And coffee is oftentimes a part of that, especially the breakfast or lunchtime meals. And so it's a fun thing that we do. Like, we eat our food, we thank one another, food is delicious, and then we just talk a lot. Like, we're just like big mouths, right? We're just like, we like to talk about history, we like to talk about art, we like to talk about poetry, and we definitely like to talk about, like, what we can do to contribute to improving this world. The world is a beautiful place, but we all know that there's a lot of things that need to be improved, and my family is really motivated and dedicated to serving humanity. And so a lot of that happens over the discussions with cafecito. And so I want to share a really beautiful story with you about coffee and my tata, my dad, who passed away 14 years ago. But his final years, he actually had a little coffee shop in his house in a place called Amatlán de Quetzalcoatl, Morelos. It's really close to Mexico City. It's very close to a place called Tepoztlán, and Cuernavaca, and a couple other really known places. But he lived out in this little small village, a little pueblito called Amatlán de Quetzalcoatl, and he had Café Mayaik. It's a coffee that came from Chiapas, and he was intentionally bringing the coffee from Chiapas because those were or are a group of people who really need people to be in solidarity with them, to help them. Some of you might remember the book that we read called The History of Colors, La Historia de los Colores, and that's about the people of Chiapas and some of their beautiful ancestor stories. But so my dad was working and helping them get coffee, so that they could be able to make subsistence, right, to be able to survive, to live. And so he would actually make the coffee in his house, in the living room of his house, which became Café Mayaik. And so I remember I was very young, I was in my 20s, my low 20s, and I would go visit him, and he had stools and benches, and they would make like cakes, like just really delicious chocolate cakes, and have them there for sale. And then my dad would make cappuccinos, like he would make lattes, he would make espresso out of Café Mayaik. And so it was really, really awesome because I would sit there with him, and you already know, I just shared it, just talking, blah, blah, blah. That's where I got this, the gift of gab, or being a big mouth, is from my dad. We would just talk back and forth, and then people would come in and sit down and order a coffee, and then they would start talking too. And so it was really cool because my dad, he never went to college, but he was extremely educated. He he loved to read. You always saw my dad reading a newspaper. You always saw my dad reading books, articles, stories. Like, he would read, when he was living in Mexico, he would read the mainstream paper, he would read the revolutionary paper, he would read the indigenous people's paper, he would read every single newspaper he could get his hands on. And if he could get his hands on American newspapers, he'd read them too. That was just what he did. He loved to research and understand and learn. And so people from the community would come in, and they would, Don Antonio, and they would start asking him questions, and it was really cool because I learned a lot. And then people would start asking me questions, and then they would be like, "Oh, you're from El Norte, but you've got cool ideas," like, because they had this idea that people from El Norte were going to be like, I don't know, just wanting to go to the mall or something. And I'm just like, no, that's not me. Like, I'm here with you. I'm an intellectual. Like, I love these discussions and my cafecito. And so, but another really cute thing was these little boys from the pueblito. They used to go and work in the milpas, right? So they would have their machetes and they'd put them on their back. And then they would leave early in the morning up into the mountains where the milpas or the cornfields are. And they would work and then, turn in their corn to whoever they're supposed to turn into. And they would come with their little coin. And I mean, little kids, like 8 years old, 9 years old. And they'd come in, Don Antonio, queremos cappuccino. And my dad would make them their little cappuccino. And he would get the whipped cream and just like make it all big, put a cherry on it, like just make it the most exciting coffee possible for these little boys. Of course, not make it strong because they were little. And it was just really cute to see all these little boys talking to my dad, and just, of course, my dad wouldn't charge them the full price because that's not cool. That was not what my dad was about. He just really enjoyed having their company. And so so the story of coffee just like lives on in me, and it's just I love it. I love the drink. I love the way it tastes, but I also love my stories and how I've been able to really get close to my family with coffee. And so I just wanted to share. This is it's kind of hard to see the glare of the light, but I'll put a picture of it at the end. This is a label to the coffee that my dad would put on the bags. Actually, this one is from my uncle, my tío Mike, who eventually opened his own Café Mayaik in New Mexico to also help the people from Chiapas. The Café Mayaik, they call it sindicato, or like a union. And so for today's daily journal, I really want to know, like, what are the little traditions that are really meaningful to you with the people that you care about? You've shared in the past, like, your big things that you do, like for Christmas or quinceañeras and things like that. But for today, I just want the traditions, like sitting around the table with your familia, drinking cafecito, sharing stories, or whatever it is for you. Okay, well, thank you. Have a good rest of your day. In la que